You should be able to now.
So today we have such a dynamic audiences. We have few audiences, few dynamic, I would say, the participants. Few are from Australia, few are from Pakistan, one is from Turkey. And I would try to understand, since that COVID outbreak, all the universities are closed. So how these people are managing that virtual learning, because in Pakistan, there's a lot of fuss about that online teaching thing, and the students are keep complaining that they cannot understand it. So let me take the perspective, the Australian perspective, how they are coping with this thing. Let me start with the very dynamic associate professor at the Charles Sturt University, Dr. Gavin Ramsey. If he can give me the overview of how the things are going on over there in Australia, so we can take a leaf out of it. Gavin, if you can hear me.
Yes, thank you very much, Umair. I think we're learning a lot from doing this, actually. We've turned it into a challenge rather than a problem. And as a result of that, we've converted virtually all of our subjects into online. And for that, we've used sometimes recorded lectures with question and answer sessions for students, so they can come in and ask questions about the lecture and so on. And sometimes we've used Zoom to do live lectures as well. So there's a whole variety of different ways we've approached it. One of the issues we have faced is the issue around practical classes. But the group of students that we've got with us today, this is not such a problem because they're in their final semester. So most of their final semester has been done online, but their practical experience is quite extensive. Our course has a very strong emphasis on practical skills, practical experience. So they've gained a large amount of practical experience before this has become an issue. For the students of different years, we found the earlier years find it much more difficult than the more senior years. And in part, there's several reasons, I think, for that. And the first one is they haven't built a really good social network. And so we've tried to also use Zoom as a way to use the groups, the breakout rooms, to help them to actually meet each other and to come to understand their years. Whereas, for example, with this final year group, they all know each other, they're comfortable working with each other, they're comfortable talking openly, they feel secure with the other members of the class. And so it's not so much of an issue for them. So that's something we really noticed we had to work on, particularly for the earlier years. Student participation, the senior years, everyone comes to class. In the junior years, they're still thinking, I wonder how little I need to do to actually pass. But in the final years, they're going, I need to know this stuff because I'm going to go and do this very soon. So the student attitude changes quite a bit as well over that time.
But Gavin, do you feel like it's more difficult to do that online teaching thing than actually face-to-face?
Oh, I think so. But is that just because I'm used to doing face-to-face and not used to doing it online? I think it's good because if you're doing it face-to-face, you can read your audience, you can see when people are confused. Whereas when it's online, you have to actually ask them, are you confused? And if they're feeling a bit nervous, they won't say, I'm confused and I can't understand you. So I think there's elements of that that are certainly significant. I wouldn't like to do the whole course online, but I can see elements of what we do, we can do. Things like this wouldn't have happened if we hadn't moved into the online space. So the next thing for me is, how do I bring this experience to the other years when we move back to a face-to-face session and have that ability to talk internationally? So next week, this group of students are going to visit Zambia and South Africa. So we've got contacts there. We're going to go and have a talk to them about the situation there. Also, we're going to go and visit India as well. So we've got a person in India, in Odisha, that we're going to go and visit. So that opportunity wouldn't have occurred otherwise. So I think there's some positives that we can take out of this. And there's certainly some skills we've gained that we can take from this. But there's also issues, and certainly the practical issue and the personal interaction are very important. We're not going to live our whole lives online. So we need to understand how to work with people and how to talk about what we're dealing with.
Now let's hear from some of your students. If someone can tell me what's the experience of the students, like being from face to face into the virtual system, how you guys are coping, and are you like, initially was it difficult and with the passage of the time it become easy, or it's always been easy, or it's always been difficult, how it was or how it is?
I think certainly in the beginning switching was difficult, just figuring out how we were doing it. I mean, a large part of what we do in final year is case logs to present to be able to show the vet board that we've done X amount of cases and we've sufficiently covered all species of animals. So that needed to continue for us. And so certainly in the first few weeks, everyone organising how that would continue to run to ensure that everyone was covering sufficient areas of knowledge online when not being faced with, multiple cases on a day-to-day basis. So I think like that was difficult, but as it's progressed, certainly after the first week or two, it all sort of started to settle into place.
If anyone else want to add?
What Gavin said is, sorry.
No, you carry on, Peggy. I'll speak after.
What Gavin was saying about, for me personally anyway, I know it was sort of more doing it online was an ends to a mean. It meant I could get out into the workforce sooner and start practicing, whereas if we had to wait until we could go back into clinics again, who knows how long we'd potentially be waiting. So for me, or as a final year, being able to finish the last 3 months online was pretty beneficial. And then talking to some of the younger years, so we've also set up a mentoring sort of scheme. So they've got people that were interested from every year level in one Zoom meeting and just discussing how everyone's going, just to try and get that social aspect back into it. So just speaking to them in that sort of situation, they were finding it quite frustrating, particularly the ones that didn't maybe have as much hands-on experience with the animals that they were currently dealing with. So they found that quite challenging. But yeah, again, we're in a bit of a different situation. So
yeah, anyone else?
I think also where people are doing Zoom from plays a role. So I've come back home to do my Zoom sessions online, which has been can be a bit challenging because suddenly like I'm back with my family who probably kind of don't really understand truly how much of a commitment like vet takes up in my life. So, I don't know how many times a day I'll be in the middle of a Zoom session and someone will come in and try to get me to do something else or ask if I'm going to, go out with everyone for lunch, and you just kind of know I've got to sit in my room and do these Zoom sessions. So I think that is also just like a different dynamic to learning, I think, because it normally I'm a bit of a, like, I just shut myself away when it comes to crunch time, like building up to exams. But here there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to shut myself away. So I think that also, plays a role in it.
Following on from that, like internet wise, I know I'm back with my parents as well at the moment, and our home internet, because we're not in town, is very, very shoddy. So I'm currently hijacking my dad's work device to be able to use the camera, because I usually can't use a camera. It crashes my whole system. And I know Andrew as well, he has to use his phone internet rather than a proper internet connection, so he often has trouble as well. So just working your way around that, I think, was everyone's major difficulty in the beginning, and figuring out the online setting.
One of the challenges we've found is that we'll also have to complete our exams or our final exams online. So that's something that's completely unknown territory for us, because we've always had to have handwritten for the most part, and then even our oral exams have been very face to face. So having to sit these now on a computer, where, as Maddie said, you potentially have technical problems and things like that, will be hopefully not a challenge, but it's certainly different anyway. So that'll be interesting. But as Peggy said too, it's we're all very eager to finish, and being so close to the end that I guess everyone's just trying to pull together and do what we can to get us across the line, I suppose.
Yeah, I think building on that, I think we were a lot more willing than maybe other years were to just give whatever was offered a go and see, just to get us over the line, because we were so close to the end.
Yeah, I think the quicker I think we all accepted it really quickly. I think for some of the younger years, we just had a protracted period of angst about it, and there's no like point in being angsty about it. You've just got to accept it. And as soon as you accept that this is how it is and just get on with it, it makes it so much easier. But yeah, probably the exams, the potential of exams, like my internet shorting out in the middle of exams, is what keeps me awake at night, like just stressing about, you know, all my system malfunctioning and them thinking I'm cheating. So that's what all my anxiety dreams, that's all it involves.
Okay, I have like two questions over here. The one is how much the university is helping you guys when it comes to like resource managing or the internet connections or things like that. Because I did my degree, the master's from ANU, and when we were there, if somebody is going through the tough time, they had this resource center where you actually go and talk with the people if you are under stress or the mental health issues or the things like that. You actually can go over there. But I was just wondering that since that online thing, if some student is going through some difficult times, how the university is helping them or could help them.
There was a COVID technology grant that was available for about 500 Australian dollars a couple of months ago. It was only open for a short period of time, so like I was able to continue with my last placement, which was an internal equine one, and I unfortunately missed out. I just ran out of time. I didn't realise it was closing so soon. But I think a fair few people were able to get that to contribute to if they needed a new device or a new screen or to upgrade internet quality. That was available in terms of a monetary assistance. In terms of the rest of it, it's a bit hard. I know that we're very lucky in final year that we have a lot of very dedicated lecturers who will sort of go above and beyond to try and work with you a little bit. Like I know this morning, even with Gavin, we're all sharing spreadsheets to try and show where we're at in our work. And so they're all working with us with what we've got, essentially. But in terms of, yeah, if your computer dies, I think apart from that grant, there's not, I don't know about you guys, I don't know about anything else.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit unsure what the uni really has put in place regarding the mental health facilities, like mental health care or some of those sort of, oh, Peggy, go on.
So yeah, the uni's always had an online counselling service that's continued, so you can still do over the phone or via Skype or Zoom type counselling service.
I actually asked this question specifically because I know from our experience that Australians put a lot of effort on the mental health. In Pakistan, we don't have this issue so much addressed. So this issue is still unaddressed. But in Australia, every university, because I have this experience of ANU, every university put a lot of emphasis on that mental health. So I was just wondering, since that online thing, how you guys are coping or how the university is actually still going up with their programs regarding that mental health issue.
Our rotation coordinator as well, so there's a lecturer in charge of just basically organising what we do for our final year. She's been having regular Zoom sessions, just sort of just to catch up and see how everyone's going. Our year's, I think, a bit of an anomaly as well. We all actually get along really well, so we are sort of checking in with each other pretty frequently. And I don't know about you guys if you sort of agree, but like I call a friend most nights just to catch up and see how they're going and that sort of thing. So yeah, but the uni, again, yeah, the uni's been really supportive. And there was a lower year student actually passed away quite recently, and they were making sure that everyone sort of had access to any services that they needed to and that type of thing as well. So they're yeah, definitely sort of putting things in place to try and make sure that people can still access those services and when they need to.
Let me take one of the Turkey perspective as well. I have one of my friend here. He's the PhD scholar in Turkey. So Sanan, how the Turkey is coping with it, or what difficulty you guys are facing when it comes to going into the university or managing your resources?
Okay. Let me give you a background. Like on March 13, Turkey suspended all educational activities after the outbreak. And this system, like nearly 40,000 schools, they were closed. And they said that we are going to implement a system. It's 18 billion, it's education information network, you can say it. So they had an agreement with Turkish Telecom. It's one of the government sectors, like they provide high quality internet. And along with that, they hired 6 TV channels, like after every 20 minutes, they are airing the lessons from different teachers according to the grade of students. And it starts 9 a.m. in the morning, and most of the students, they are not motivated. This is why they requested to the parents, like, please create the motivation and don't offer them the food during the lessons time. A lot of new things they are coming, and as a PhD student here, I am getting like an extra cap of 5 gigabytes every month. They are facilitating. We have no issue in the preparing or understanding the assignments. Yeah.
But Sanan, like when it comes to, because I know that you're doing the PhD thing and probably in the theogenology, is it? Are you doing in the theory, the PhD?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering when it comes to the practical examination, practical exposure of the thing, because the PhD, the part of is it like data collection and then going into the field and then running the different things. So when it comes to the practical thing, are you guys allowed to go into the university and the things like that?
Okay, so this is very tricky part. Like my supervisor, he is creating a kind of facilitating assignments. Like I have to work on like the biological fluids, so I should be in the university facility. So as doctorate students, we have minimum contact with the people, and I stay in the campus all the time. But for the Turkish students, they're taking the lessons on home, and of course they're not able to do the practical work. They can just only understand what the assignments they are given every day.
Okay, thank you. Now
but for me,
yeah, Sanan, go ahead. Sanan, go ahead.
For me, I can do the experiments. I can do all the practical work without any problem. Still, I'm also calling from the lab now.
Okay. I'll see that lab later on once the Zoom meeting is finished, so I know how's your lab look
Sure.
like. It's better than our university or not. Okay, now let me take the perspective of the Pakistani students, because in Pakistan, there's a lot of fuss about that online thing. The students are not willing to take the online thing. They are saying that this is the wastage of money, wastage of time, and the wastage of everything. So I received a lot of complaints from the Pakistan students saying that it's not a good idea to go on the virtual learning. So if Farheen or Wali can explain, why is it like the mentality of the Pakistan student that we are facing so much difficulty when it comes to the online examination or the online classes?
First of all, I just want to say that it's a great perspective if we are going for the online classes. If we look at the other side of that we were in a home, and we were not able to do anything. We were just free, and these online classes have added something great in our life. If we go for the positive side of that online classes, I know that there are many issues regarding the online classes. Some students are not able to understand this lecture online because we are not concrete with someone. We are not going to we don't have facial interaction with someone, as sir said, as respected Gavin sir said, that personal interaction is not here. So what should we do? We have to be something. We have to interact with each other, not like that. We have to do something like online classes are good. In my point of view, online classes are good because we are not free. When the coronavirus were about 2 to 3 months ago, when there were no online classes, we were just like lazy all the times. We don't get up. We get up just out. In my point of view, I get up early. I don't get up early. I was just get up at 12 or 1 o'clock. That's something harsh or something like we were wasting our time. Now when the online classes starts, we get up early in the morning. I go for the gym. Many of you and also respected all of you do some chores or some work that are related to you in order to keep your physically healthy. And in these are, in my point of view, I am in favor of the online classes because we don't have time. You know that the greatest weapon of any country of the world is time, because we don't have any substitute of that time. So if we are going to say that the online classes are just adding some stress or something like this and that, that's okay, but go for the other perspective. That is good. Just look at that. We have just 6 months to I don't think so, as reported by the president of America, that it would take about a year to make the vaccine of coronavirus. So I don't think so. We are going to waste this all year about waiting that when the coronavirus will end, we will do our course and work when it's end, as reported by the Bill Gates, that we have to stay with it, we have to survive with it with the SOPs. So in my point of view, it's a good thing. But as Sir, respected Sir Gavin said, that practical issues, that yes, I am agree with that. Practical issues, personal interaction is also a great deal with that. I am not a great typer, so it's also issue for me for the papers, and also because we have to go for the typing instead of the handwriting. So I am a fast handwriter, so it's much difficult for the paper things. That's all from my side.
Okay, that's good, Wali. And if I can hear from Farheen, her perspective about that online classes.
Yeah, firstly, I want to discuss in detail what is happening right now in Pakistan with the online system. That our university have designed an online system named as LMS, Learning Management System, and we can access that site at any time of the day, but exactly at 1 p.m. I'm an evening student, so exactly at 1 p.m. when the lecture start, the site goes down, and we cannot access that site, and we have to stick for consecutively 6 hours to our mobile phones to put attendance there, but we cannot access that, unfortunately. And we have to make a WhatsApp group with our teachers, and we have to message our attendance there. Like, suppose if my roll number is 4, then I have to like Pareen's are a roll number 4 and present. I feel it's so dumb, like that. Okay, what the hell? It is not necessary to focus on attendance rather than studying. I feel our teachers or our management system should focus on our studies rather than attendance system, because in this lockdown we all are just stuck at our homes studying or doing house chores, etc. So we have to focus on our studies preferably, and we have to do Zoom meetings, because there is no Zoom meetings in Pakistan right now, and we are finding our time wasteful because we are just take on phones to mark attendance only. These our teachers send our videos or lecture videos on this that side, which is not accessible. But I'm very thankful to Dr. Umair Waqas that he made a YouTube channel for our help, and I found it very useful. That at any time we can search on that video or that lecture on YouTube, and we can learn from it. And just this, and yeah, practical exams are too bad. Yeah, we cannot find it accessible for that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for him. That's good. So I would like to ask the Australian students that you hear the perspective of the Pakistani student, the one Turkish student as well. How you take it? Like, you can feel the difficulty the Pakistani students are facing as compared to you guys, because Australia is more developed country considered to Pakistan. In Pakistan, we have this constant problem of internet as well, the access to the websites or access to the material. There are so many hurdles. But in Australia, probably you guys don't have these hurdles, isn't it?
I think I agree mostly. I think Charlestown might be a little bit different compared to a lot of other Australian unis because most or a lot of the students come from really rural areas where the internet isn't as reliable as in the urban areas in Australia. So I think we have some, common ground in that way. But on the whole, I think, yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. Sounds difficult to you guys.
Okay, do the teachers over there put a lot of emphasis on that present thing, like you need to mention your attendance and the stuff like that? Do they put a lot of emphasis on that, or not really?
Yeah, I think we have an expectation to meet certain requirements, and for our own ability to feel competent going out into the workforce. So, having that sort of motivation helps sort of drive you, I guess, to come to class and things. But if you didn't go to class, I don't see how you would be able to go out into the workforce and feel competent, I suppose. I think, as we were saying earlier, we only have certain options now available to us, and we have to take those opportunities and work with it as best as we can until things do, hopefully change whenever that is. Yeah.
I think it varies a little bit between each lecturer. Like Gavin was stirring me yesterday because I was 2 minutes late, but whereas other lecturers...
Gavin always does that. Even in the Zoom meeting with us, he always does that. Why you are late?
But yeah, I'm similar to Wally that I'm also a slow typer, so that was something I was pretty worried about heading into online exams. And we also have an OSCE normally, like a practical exam, and we haven't really been told anything about that, so I can sort of understand how it can be sort of frustrating not being able to do your practical and having the added stress of I type sort of with 2 fingers, so I'm quite slow. And yeah, that's still a concern for me for this exam period coming up, so I can understand there being concerns regarding those issues.
I think it also depends on the rotation that you're on as well with attendance, and the rotation previous to this, part of our mark to complete the rotation was attendance and professional attire and presentation and communication. So we had to be on time, we had to be dressed appropriately, we had to participate fully as if it was a real life work environment where you can't kind of, so that was like there was no option but to attend. Which, yeah, I thought the same as the others. I think that studying is one thing, but building rapport, learning to build rapport with people and having developed discussions is what really drives my learning. I could read something in a book 100 times and it just goes in one ear and out the other. But the minute, when you have to discuss something with someone, or there's an argument, or, someone disagrees with you and you talk, oops, sorry. You can hear my mum yelling in the background. This is what I mean by a hostile environment. Anyway, sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, the discussion, it sticks in your mind. I'm going to go on mute because she's really screaming at the dog. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Being a veterinarian, you don't be worried about it, that if she's yelling at the dog. Do it all the time.
Practical-wise, I can also understand what you're saying. Like, it's so difficult if you're not getting to do the hands-on part. Because I know for me, that was kind of what drives you. It's all good and well to read a book all day, every day, but I struggle doing that. I'm not that academic. So getting that practical part was really important to me. So I can totally understand that missing that is really hard. I think for CSU, the suggestion was that if they can cram all of the theory knowledge in now, then once they can come back, they can resume those practicals. But, like for some of them, for example, for our pregnancy diagnosis ones, we'd sort of talk about theory and then you'd go and do those pracs that are associated with the week-to-week knowledge that you were gaining. So I do understand how having that removed would be really hard, and it is with rotations. But as I've also said, we're very lucky that we were just in that last couple of months you know, we've had almost 5.5 years of ours finished, so we were very lucky that we could kind of drop that a little bit. But from the not younger, but lower year perspective, I think that certainly working out where those practicals were, because you do have to do them to meet your board registration requirements. I think that was certainly a big factor for a lot of the lower years.
I also think on the attendance thing, for all of us, for all our online learning, we did have to turn up, but I don't think there was as much emphasis on it because we're keen to finish, and so we're turning up anyway. I don't know if that's the same in younger years where maybe attendance isn't compulsory, maybe there's not as many people.
Also because there was fewer of us. Like, you know, there's each of us in this rotation, and that's a pretty big rotation. My previous one, there was 5. So it was kind of, you know, if you're sitting in a Zoom meeting, you could put up the gallery view, and your lecturer is pretty quick to know that you're not there if you're muted and, you know, you've got your camera off. But I did hear that some of the lecturers were saying that some of the earlier years were turning off the camera or muting and doing other things and not engaging as well. So, yeah.
Okay, the last thing before we sign off, I already taken a lot of time. The mental health issue, because since everybody is in the quarantine, so there's always the problem of that mental health thing. Eventually that giant comes to haunt you. So any of you or your friend or anybody you know has gone through that mental health problem while in the quarantine or something like that? Because if you're not doing anything, you are quarantined or isolated in the home, there's always the chance that the mental health issue will strike you. So, and if yes, then how they are coping with it?
So can I add something in the previous topic?
Yeah, sure, William, go ahead.
In my point of view, we are mature enough to distinguish between the good and bad. So why the attendance system is? So in my point of view, there shouldn't be attendance system in higher school or in universities because we are mature enough to know that what should we do, what is good for us, what is bad for us. Then there shouldn't be. So a student should be free of hand. What he wanna do, he could do. So don't be hard, don't be harsh in just going for the attendance system, because in Pakistan it's necessary to go for the attendance. We are paying more heed on the attendance than the knowledge. We should pay heed on the knowledge, not for the attendance. Many of my fellows, because I am CR, so they said that, hey bro, just go for the attendance, mark my attendance, I'm going to the class, I'm going for something like this and that, I'm going for the market. So we are really not interested in getting knowledge, but in making the attendance or something like I am good in attendance. So we shouldn't do this. We must get rid of that attendance in the higher school and universities also, in my point of view.
Thank you, William. Thank you. That's a good one. Yeah, that attendance is a burning issue in Pakistan, so everybody speaks about it. So if we come back to that topic of the mental health, because like this is my area of the interest also, I want to speak a lot about the mental health. Gavin knows about it. So if anyone, or your idea about that mental health issue, if everybody's in the quarantine, the issue of the mental health will increase. So how the university should manage it, how the government should manage it, or how the students and their parents should manage it.
I think with the mental health aspect of quarantine isolation, I think the main problem of things that I've struggled from is just that, the isolation. Like, you can't see the people who normally make up your support network, or at university your support network of peers and friends. And I live with some really good housemates who were also studying, so whenever there was that anxiety or feeling really down about stuff, they were there to kind of just having instant access to people and your peers, and being able to go out and just do fun social things that can kind of help uplift you a bit. So obviously with isolation, I think a lot of people are experiencing change in that support system and access to the support system. That being said, I came home to my family who were very loving and supporting. So I haven't really struggled with it so much as I think it's a shame that I can't hang out with my friends and I don't get to see my friends, or, you know, the post-exam, we were meant to have a big dinner to celebrate finishing vet school, and we're all meant to go out and celebrate together. I think that is a real shame, but that's really just, it's just more just a sad social thing. I'm like, damn it, I want to see my friends one more time before we all scatter and go our separate ways. But I don't know if that makes sense or if that was just rambling.
We're still going to have to do that, Daisy. Just
yeah, I know. Just not in the immediate, you know, when this all blows over, we'll all get together and kick up our heels.
I think this is why we are quite lucky being in final year, because we have such a strong support network from everyone else in our cohort, and we've also developed these. So I feel like we're really well.
I think it's important as well to acknowledge, though, that things are starting to reduce here for us as far as restrictions and things go. And so I can appreciate, you know, for us, like maybe a month or two ago, it was quite difficult because we couldn't do a lot of things. There was a lot of, you know, no one could visit your house. You had to be a certain distance from each other, whereas we're starting to integrate now some, you know, reducing those restrictions, and we are being allowed to start seeing, you know, small groups of people, I suppose. So that, you know, during that time, personally, I found doing things like exercise or, maintaining communication, like ringing friends and things like that. We would often do Zoom things like this, but if we could, we'd have I had a painting party. So we just drank wine and painted and, you know, doing things outside of study too, because I guess you separate your home life from uni, whereas when uni and home life mix together, it's hard to sort of separate yourself, I suppose, get out of that mindset. So it's just doing things for yourself and trying to balance that, I guess. Yeah.
And for me, I've had ongoing mental health issues for a number of years, so it wasn't necessarily isolation that made it worse or anything, but I think, coming home, back to the family farm and having to do chores, like if a cow is having trouble calving or anything like that, sort of trying to go, well, I'm in the middle of class, I can't really duck off and sort of help now, even though I do often. Those type of things is a bit of a challenge. But for me personally, I know while your family can be supportive, it can be detrimental at the same time. And in terms of the uni trying to be supportive as well, I know I was emailed by someone in the faculty asking to give a talk to the fifth years that are just about to start rotations as well, just about how I found doing rotations and I guess online initially for those guys with ongoing mental health issues. So I guess I don't know when that's going to happen or anything, but I guess knowing that the uni is sort of trying to be proactive and get on the front foot to try and help the lower years is a good thing.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through that mental health stage once in a lifetime. I think that the important thing is how you identify it. Some people, especially in our part of the world, it's really hard to identify the mental health, and there's a stigma associated with it as well in our part of the world. This is a really, really important thing. Sanan, if you want to add anything regarding that mental health issue in the Turkey thing.
Yeah. During past 3 months, I also suffered, like you can say, but mostly my body health, it was affected. I gained a lot of weight, and then I started to exercise, spending more time with the animals. Like we have experimental animals here. But the most important thing that I want to add is that we have to take the maximum out of this crisis situation. It's not easy time. And of course, the internet users, they are very high at this moment. Like the countries in Pakistan, they don't have access to internet. And the country where I'm living, like 74% of the population is using the internet very easily. It's very accessible. So, but you have to train yourself. You have to train the students. You have to motivate the students to learn this student-centered teaching. Like I also worked as a teacher, and my lessons, they were always teacher-oriented. But now this online teaching is providing us a kind of opportunity to make these student-oriented lessons. Turkey is trying to get accreditation from Bologna process. It's a kind of meeting which is celebrated, which is conducted every year to compare or to make the standards of education equal across the Europe. So this online education can be improved with number of ways. Of course, it has a lot of cons. The motivation of students is one key factor which can help them to be there on time, on all ears. Like they have to be all ears. It's their responsibility.
Yep, that's good.
That's all.
If somebody else want to add on it, I think Catherine didn't speak yet. If she wants to add something, or anybody wants to add something.
I think it is different because we are all from, well, most of us are from farms or rural Australia. So life hasn't changed that much for myself personally. Just being at home, I still have every day the things I have to do with the animals outside. So that keeps me busy. And I think that has helped my mental health, being at home and having something to do every day and not just uni. So I know in the mornings I would get up and all the horses and the cows and the dogs, I'd do all of them, and then I'd come online and do uni during the day, and then at nighttime do the same thing. And I think that's kept me sane and helped my mental health throughout this. That I wasn't in a city and I was able to go outside every day and exercise, and there's no one really around, so I didn't have to worry about quarantine or isolation. Yeah.
Gavin, before we will sign off, I want to ask you, like, what's your perspective of this online teaching in the future? Like, if the COVID thing goes for, say, 2 years more or 2.5 years more, and we have to stay at the home and still doing that virtual learning, would you see that there would be a lot of improvement and eventually the world will go on that virtual thing?
I think there'll be a lot of improvement if that was the case, but I don't think we'd want to go on and do it permanently. I think, for example, within veterinary science, students need to know how to talk to people about their animals and things like that, so they need that interaction. We would probably move towards doing a lot of the practical elements would be done in focused periods of time with smaller groups of students. And that would be, I think, somewhat of a disadvantage. And I think one of the students highlighted the issue of actually having the theory and then doing the practical. And we're very lucky that we can do that very easily on our campus. We just walk, a bit down the road through the university farm and you're in the big cattle yards, for example. So we have a lot of those facilities nearby that are big advantages. So for us, we wouldn't see that as the main opportunity. But we also at Charles Sturt University have quite a large number of distance students in several courses. And I think this will certainly advantage them in the future. The quality of the material will improve. Our creativity and how we use it will improve. So a lot of the Master of Animal Science students that we have are distance students. And so it's helped us to improve the material for them as well. And certainly when you're talking about being locked in, and I can't remember who it was that talked about it, but getting what you're doing during the day mixed up with what you normally do at night and the weekends. I actually forgot about weekends for several weeks because it was just getting the material up and getting it ready was an everyday job. And it certainly now I'm in the mode now. I'm almost not looking forward to going back to the university because I've got my routine sorted. I get up, I do some exercise. Again, you know, I'm on a reasonably large block of land. I can go for a walk down to the letterbox and back, and that's more than 1 kilometre. So I'm very fortunate in that way as well. So certainly, I think our competence in online learning has increased. I think we need to keep developing it and using that environment. And to do that, I'm starting to work also with virtual reality and looking at the opportunities there within using virtual reality. And it's something we've talked about for our activities in Pakistan, to give some of our farmers who are not having the direct experience, a vicarious experience, and actually watch one of their fellow farmers going through activities so they can learn. So some of this we can take outside that immediate education area, put it into our research and also into the community as well. So I think there's a lot of really good things we can take from this, but I don't think I want to do it again.
Nobody wants to do it again. Thank you, Gavin, and thank you everyone for your time. It was such a helpful conversation. I think a lot of students here in Pakistan actually learned a lot from that conversation. So I extend my thanks to all of you. It's such a nice talking with you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us to talk about it.
Lovely to meet you all as well.
Yeah, really nice to hear
Thanks
another
a lot.
perspective.